Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Today we are going deep, baby. We're going deep. We're gonna recap the last two episodes of The Boys season 4, and with us tonight we have Chad. You all know Chad, and after the last show, you all know Phipps. He's gone by Phipps today. So take it away, Phipps.
All right. Well, we're just gonna start off, and we're gonna jump straight into season 4, episode 7. And I mean, the theme starts off with like, "Will you be my neighbor?" Right. So we start off there. Ryan is on the set of Vaught's The Avenue 5 Christmas special, which shows a puppet version of A Train talking to Ryan about Antifa before singing a song encouraging children to report their parents or anyone suspicious in their life. Ryan questions the show's intentions, but the director insists the lyrics were personally approved by Homelander. Like when that happens, it was took me aback. So, Chad, any thoughts about that whole little section right there?
So it's always weird seeing puppets on one of these boys shows. I will say this: the puppets on this one turned out to be, I guess, more family friendly than they were on Gen V because they were doing some wild ass shit with the puppets on that one. So just the image of them on this, it always gets me taken aback a little bit. But the more important thing to come out of this is it shows a little bit of Ryan maybe rebelling, but still the presence of his father looms over everything. And of course, nobody else is. Though Ryan can do the same thing to most of them, they're much more fearful of Homelander than they are Ryan. So uh, it's just like planting the seeds for him making some decisions that we'll get to in the latter half of these episodes. But again, puppets, the show, it always messes with me.
It definitely leads us down a deep and dark rabbit hole as we're talking about going deep that we don't necessarily want to go down, or maybe we do. We'll see as we keep going on. But we'll just keep going on in the episode. So next we have Sister Sage. She arrived at the meeting for Vought Tower, where Homelander and Firecracker were already there, claiming they had moved up the meeting without her. So Homelander dismisses Ashley and reveals that he found bugs planted by Butcher at Tech Knight's mansion. So we already talked about that in the last episode. He assigns Firecracker to find the true mole, explaining that Sage that while she has the brains, he has the wisdom. So Sage is upset about being upstaged by Firecracker, so she texted Deep for a little bit of fun. So as we talking about going deep, so she's going deep there, but I think it's something to talk about where Firecracker in this point, she's becoming Homelander's right hand man in a sense. So Jermaine, any thoughts about that?
Well, first, I really want to talk about that first part where Ryan basically learns that Homelander was the one who basically approved the script, and what was significant there was it was Homelander. Homelander wanted him to say those things as if to give like some type of subliminal message to Ryan that dude, I need you to think about these things real quick. You think that Butcher is your dad or whatever it is that you might be thinking, but in my mind, in Homelander's mind, Butcher is the enemy. So I need you to understand that. As it relates to the whole situation with Sage, I'm trying to I want to make certain that I'm not conflating different parts of the story. So you're saying that that Sage texted who did Sage text?
The Deep. She, that was her little hookup when she needed to have a mindless, lobotomized session. She calls the Deep because he's down for everything.
And that was episode 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming what happened there was the fact that they got busy. They got it on. I'm assuming if I'm not getting my episodes mixed up.
Yeah. It was an interesting time right at that point because Firecracker comes across. She's like trying to take over and take Sister Sage's section, kind of like that's her plot of land, right? She's stepping on her toes with that, but you know, we learn later on maybe there's more brewing in this situation than what most people saw coming. So yeah, so we kind of continue on in the relation in the episode here where Annie comes and she meets her mother Donna. She then says that they need to hide with the extended family in Sedona, Arizona. I just want to take a moment out for Sedona because they made Sedona seem like it was the deepest, darkest corner of the earth. I was like, Sedona isn't that remote, but whatever, you know. So Donna's upset. She revealed she was kicked out of her Bible study group because of Annie's abortion. So after hanging up, Annie says she can't imagine bringing a child into the world that they live in. So, you know, there's just so many repercussions that's going on from Annie's actions and what they kind of exposed before. So we're starting to see, the characters kind of have their moments in the sun, we'll say, where Annie she's in a sense powerless, and the power we're starting to see is she's without her power because of things that are happening around her, not because she doesn't have her power. So, any thoughts on kind of where she's coming up short right now? We're trying to go deep. She's not able to handle it right now.
The thing I'll say about Annie, and so this is me being the comic book person. Like, I hate when people lose their powers because they're sad or some shit. It's the Spider-Man 2 of it all. Like, he lost his powers because he was going through some shit and existential crisis and whatnot. No, man, if you're gonna lose them, give me a reason to lose them. If it's just because you going through some stuff, we go through stuff all the time. We still gotta walk to work and do all this other stuff. Your power shouldn't just fritz out. I understand they're doing it. Actually, I don't understand why they're doing it so much here. Mostly because of how it's resolved at the very end of the season, and I can talk about that when we get to it. I mean, in the moment, I get it. She's going through things, so her powers are fritzing out to manifest that she's going through things and uncertainty. But in this show, with all these superheroes doing all this fucked up shit and going through all these fucked up things, she's the one that magically loses her powers when she's got a little trials and tribulations. If you want to tell me it's a commentary on, frail white women, fine. But I just don't dig with the sad I'm losing power shit.
I like the commentary there. I can see where we can make a direct connection to it.
I mean, I can see it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's an easy way out.
Yeah,
it's an easy way out to say, this person, their powers not available when we need them because they can solve the problem. So easy plot line that hey, they don't have it because they're sad.
Yeah, I mean, and when we get to the resolution, they come. It's very convenient and very easy and very right when I need it to be. So that takes me off even more. But we'll get to that at the very end.
You can say this is the start of a build up.
Yeah, with a finish.
Jermaine, any thoughts on that?
Nah, Chad said it.
All right. So going further in the episode, A-Train takes a picture of Sister Sage handing a file to someone on the street and sends it to Mother Milk. Butcher returns to the office revealing he was behind Samir's disappearance. He shares that a virus strong enough to kill Homelander will cause a global pandemic, killing all Supes. So, of course, Annie is horrified, claiming it's genocide, but Butcher denies wanting to go through with it. Butcher also announces that Grace Mallory has freed Frenchie from prison. So Frenchie comes back. He's sad to be back. And, of course, Mother Milk, doubting his leadership, has collapsed at Technag's house and puts Butcher back in charge. So you got Frenchie back. You got Grace Mallory back. You got Butcher back in control. MM is second in command, but kind of right where he needs to be in a sense. Everybody's kind of falling back in line. So, Jermaine, any thoughts about where we are? Because this is kind of where right in the middle of this, we're starting to build up to what could be the conclusion. What do you think?
I rewatched that episode and I don't even remember none of that shit. No, well, okay, so it's I do agree with you there. The fact that Mother's Milk is probably best suited at being second in command. Probably more because he knows best how to rally the troops. He can see the bigger picture, and because he has an emotional connection to the other people, they just see Butcher as someone who this is what I have to do. I know I need to do it, and I'm ready to kill people. Whereas Mother's Milk, he knows how to. I'm not gonna say play on their hearts, but he knows what to say, how to say it, when to say it, to get to rally the troops, if you will. And so that's why he's best at second in command.
And one thing I wanted to notice, and this is like outside of the actual story, but it plays into it. So the actor that plays Mother's Milk, Laz Alonso, he lost a lot of weight. He changed up his entire body type, for health reasons. He was, he wanted to pay attention. I think he said he did a DNA test, found out what his body needed, things of that sort. So he looks different than what one of the characters in the comic, and then two, how he looked in the previous ones, because he was a big boy. He was stocky, not stocky, but he was muscular. I think I like how they played a role into. He was starting to have hives. He was, the leadership role. It looks like it took wear and tear on him from what we saw here. So I think him going to number 2, Butcher coming back. In a sense, it makes it all make sense with his drastic change. Chad, what do you think about this section that we were talking about?
Well, this is the part in the movies where you have to break the team up to bring them back together so they can go on their big last mission. So this is their coming back together point, which it's fine. It's what you have to do with this show to keep some things interesting. I kind of didn't like Frenchie coming back. Not that he couldn't come back, but it was basically like, yeah, Frenchie back. What up? And he just strolls on in. Like, this dude willingly put himself in jail. So, and y'all just got him to willingly walk out and with no problems. Like, it was just that easy. Like, he wouldn't even see Kamiko. Every time she went, she would just sit there. He would never see her. And you telling me y'all just got him to come back with nothing. Like, no, I wanted a little bit something more there with him coming back. Like, somebody talking to him, somebody showing him in, like, I don't think we saw him actually in prison. Maybe something happened in prison that was like, okay, maybe I can do more good out there than in here, something like that. But no, it was just like pull some strings, he back, and he's willingly going to be back. But also, you mentioned that Grace, because Grace is the one to pull the strings to get him back, and Grace is going to be important later. So this is like their another drop of her being around. So when she shows up later, it's not just kind of out of the blue.
Yeah. I think they did a good job of like bringing the gang back together forcefully, but they brought them all back together so that each portion, as we get to the end, kind of makes us like think about it a little bit more, we'll say. Well, next we have A-Train finds Ashley watching a CNN report on Cameron Coleman's death. She tries to convince A-Train to run away to Florence with her in the most weirdest way. And they're like, I like you, but then I don't like you. Let's just run away. But knowing Homelander will discover their involvement in the leak. Now, next, Butcher, Annie, and Huey break into an apartment where Sage is seen giving files. They discover the plans to assassinate Robin Singer on January 6th, which I just want to take a moment. At some point, the writers of this show were just like, copy paste, and I'm gonna send it in.
Told you. There's absolutely no subtext. Everything. We just gonna put it up here because you dummies need to see it. It's
right there in front of your face. Right in front of your face. If you don't know what it is, here it is again, right on the nose. But anyway, so January 6th, that's when they're attempting to assassinate Robert Singer. But their search is interrupted by a woman who attacks Annie and Huey before running away. The fleeing woman steals clothes from an elderly woman, peels off her skin, morphing into a new form. Just the like Mystique, but on the most disgusting way ever. So A Train visits Mother's Milk, questioning why he wasn't at the apartment with Butcher, with this weird woman, Butcher, Annie, and Huey. A Train reminds MM that leaving the country won't stop the war against the Supes, claiming it would be that Homelander will easily come to Belize. I mean, he's going to come and find him anyway. So Frenchie and Kamiko watch over Samir, who reveals Butcher's bizarre behavior, including talking to himself. So I'm going to stop there because I know we brought it up before where we weren't sure who was there in the room. We talked about, everything that was going on before, but there's a lot going on in this little section. So, Jermaine, any thoughts?
Well, first I want to talk about the scene between A Train and MM. I thought it was quite poignant. The way that A Train was talking to him, especially when we think about the movie that A Train was in, where there was supposed to be like this white guy that was supposed to be his father figure, if you will. I'm assuming in the movie he had an absent father, even though he lived in the suburbs. But MM was supposed to be, I don't know, not his father figure, but something akin to a father figure, in the sense that basically A Train was like, I can't do this without you. The team can't do this without you. You are needed. And instead of MM being the person that's like helping A Train, it's A Train that's getting MM to see the bigger picture, to see what the goal really ought to be. And the fact that A Train is basically putting his life on the line, in a way. Think about it this way. If there's anybody that's going to die in this particular situation, it is going to be A Train, right? And A Train is the one that's going to MM and saying, dog, I need you. I need you. And then, of course, what happens later. And then you were talking about the scene with the shapeshifter. You talk about what's gross. What was gross was the shapeshifter, and the way, I mean, just peeling off body part, like that has got to be painful. Like you like I cut myself, and I'm like, damn, she's pulling off body parts, right? And I'm going to talk about episode 8. I don't really want to talk about it, but I wondered. I was just like, what use is it to just be a shapeshifter? I found out a little bit later in episode 8, and like it's actually quite useful. But I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I think piggyback off what you're saying, I think it's probably quite hot to have it on top because it seems as if you're not really shape shifting, but it's almost like it forms on top of whatever your standard is. So, I'm just going to leave that there because I think that plays a role in what happens later. But, I think the interpretation of that power was real interesting, really interesting. So, next, what we have here, Homelander and Firecracker confront Web Weaver. Pour one out for our boy Web Weaver, man. For some reason, they believed he was the specific mole. Web Weaver admits to lending his suit to Butcher. He denies leaking any information. And of course, what happens? Homelander kills Web Weaver. Firecracker is like taken aback. I have no clue why. But let's just take a moment, like, for him to be this unhinged over Web Weaver, who was disgusting. Just point blank, like that scene, he shot so many loads. That
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh,
just over and over.
I put that out of my mind, and you just brought it back.
So bring it right back in. Bring it right back in. Just over and over and over again. And the man is just having a conversation. Now, granted, he's nervous for all the right reasons. He does this when he's nervous, and it pays off because what does he do? He splits them in half like nobody's business. So, I mean, Chad, tell me what you're feeling right now.
He was split in half deep.
I'm really upset with you because like while you're talking, I'm visualizing the scene, and I remember them walking in. I remember them talking to him. I remember him getting split in half. I did not remember any of the other shit he was doing until you just said it, and it just came back, and I'm
Selective
disgusted
memory,
all
yeah.
over again. It
Selective
really
memory.
was. It really was. My mind was like, you don't want to remember that. I'm putting it out of mind, and Phipps just brought it all back, and I don't really like you for it right now. But that's all right.
Oh, good.
I'm going to skip over the disgusting shit that what we was doing, even though I completely understand he was nervous, and it was warranted because Homelander is a goddamn psychopath, and it was only going to ever end that way. I'm with you. I don't understand why a Firecracker was so taken aback by this. What did she think was going to happen? It's not like she hasn't spent 5 minutes with the dude and knows what the hell he's all about. There was no way nothing else was going to happen.
Only outcome ever.
I thought he would like blown his head off or something, but I didn't know he was going to go for the actual like visceral ripping this dude apart at the shoulder kind of thing. But Jermaine can talk about the next shit. I'm done.
Well, that was kind of like a point of no return, or it was a point where she could have said, "Okay, I'm out." Right? It was like he's killed this person in front of me. Clearly, she wasn't expecting it. Right? So it's a point of no return where okay, I've got to invest myself into this. I've gotten this man killed, or dang, he went a little too far. I'm out. She chose to ride with him, and because she chose to ride with him, she's kind of locked in. That's how I saw
it. She's locked in, all right. She can't go anywhere.
She's locked in deep.
Yeah. So I'll say this next part I think was really interesting, and I appreciate them starting the conversation where Frenchie tries to talk to Kimiko, who's angry about his refusal to accept help. Kimiko reveals that she lost her voice after killing another girl in a Shining Light camp. They agree to free Samir after he completes the virus despite Butch's demands. Even though that goes left, right? So then next we have Ambrosia confronts the Deep about his affair with Sage. In retaliation, the Deep breaks Ambrosia's fish tank. He regrets it, cries. Ambrosia gasps for air. He just sits back and something happens to Ambrosia that's probably not PG rated. So we're gonna pour one out for Ambrosia.
Say it.
Oh, Ambrosia, chokes to death outside. All over. I hate to say it. Sage let him do a few things to him in the nastiest way, and now he killing this main thing. Like, how you do this? Well, where does this come from?
See, the thing for me is this. If you got one freak over here, you got another freak who knows about the first freak. Why not keep both freaks? And it's all good. Ambrosia is probably doing it in a way that Sage can't do it anyway. So why not?
I would hope so.
Okay, I do want to say something else. You remember that scene where he had her in the bed. They were basically having sex or doing whatever it is that they do. So she was outside the tank and she was able to leave. I don't understand how Ambrosia was able to leave unless Deep excretes whatever she needs to survive.
Okay, so me and you, we on the same one on this one, but I don't. Unless it's like some magic stuff, because they were having full on conversation while she was just laying on the bed, like chilling. Like clearly, she had been on the tank for a while because they had done their things, and they were basically post coitus in the bed, just sit there chilling, and she was fine. And
you
gotta use coitus, man? Why don't you just say after fucking?
It's coitus with them. It's fucking when it's him and Sage. They be fucking.
I said coitus because I find coitus funny, particularly when I'm thinking about it between a man and an octopus. It amuses me. That's the only reason why. But so he took his time putting her back in that tank. Then, so it's very. I guess, intense or whatever, watching him against the closet, listening to her die. And I got it from like that standpoint. But I'm like, I just saw this bitch on the bed. I've seen octopi get out of water, mess around, go back, and be cool. So I didn't get why she died this time, unless they're trying to.
Did she really die?
Oh yeah, she died.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
You never see a body, so maybe not.
No, I'm just saying maybe we'll see her next season.
I mean, the only reason I really thought she died is because I think we see him go back to his room at some point, and after the deed is done. And I think, doesn't he have like, I'm sure we get to it later, he has like a little point where he thinks about it for a brief second. So that's why I really thought she did. But I don't know. And maybe just in the interest of time, we're supposed to think that this, like, she was out of that tank in that broken part for like longer than just the 5 minutes it seemed like it was. That's the only thing I got.
I mean, let's just say, for the sake of argument, when she's going into sex, her blood is oxygenated, whatever it is, and he smashes the tank. She wasn't prepared. She didn't hold her breath right. She died a little bit quicker. Let's just call a spade, and it's comic book math, and it works out.
I mean, I'll give you that. But it was a thought, and I'm glad I wasn't the only one that had that thought.
Oh, yeah. So next, Huey tries to reason with Newman to step away from Homelander's plot, but fails. Butcher and Annie return to the boy's office to find the Deep and Black Noir waiting. A fight ensues, and A-Train, of all people, and MM help to defeat them. A-Train rushes to Ash's office, asking her to run away with him now that the Deep and Black Noir know he's the leak. But she declines and reminds him to cut out his tracking chip. I'm gonna just say A-Train's arc over these last few episodes have been like so deep. He's doing a lot right now, but in this situation, it's like, bro, you legit are putting everything on the line for these people.
No doubt.
He was like, I never liked your ass, and started to beat him. I was like, bro, he gonna get this ass whipping. He been holding off for a while. If I'm gonna die, you gonna feel me. That's what I took from it. So, Jermaine, any thoughts on that scene?
Okay. So it was kind of like, how do I say this? So as a character, I found Deep to be funny. I found him to be a deep character who wasn't very deep intellectually. Okay. I never knew that A-Train like that. I might have peeked that in like maybe season 1, season 2, but it had been a minute since I had really seen A-Train like not like Deep. And so for him to say that in that particular moment, I was like, dang, okay, so this is really about to be a fight. It didn't really turn out that way between the two of them, because Annie, or Starlighter, came in and like really put everything on him in a couple different ways. I was expecting A-Train to fight that fight, but it didn't happen that way. All it really did was it exposed A-Train. If you really think about it, that whole fight scene just exposed A-Train.
I think also, it starts to add up who doesn't like the Deep. You get to see A-Train. You get to see, so many people, Annie or Starlight, she doesn't like him. Later on, we find out more people don't like him. Like, I think that, for me, that's what helped out there. So, Chad, what do you think?
I mean, on the Deep part, as the series has gone, like, I think the only person that has genuinely liked him was the goddamn octopus that he just killed. She's the only one that's like expressed any like real like affection towards him. It's been a while seeing A-Train like express that he doesn't like him, but the biggest scene from this season I would have shown it was the almost forced blowjob that Homelander almost made him do. And
but I really can't put that on him because it was Homelander. Like, what you gonna do?
Yeah, I know the situation they're in. It will make anybody kind of look like that, but.
And A-Train, you better get hard.
But with the Deep, I think they've shown like every season, like nobody really likes him, even though they don't really say it, except for Annie. We know why Annie don't like him. So when she she gutted his fins. Again, that makes me uncomfortable seeing that shit, but it was deserved because she.
Hey, we gotta talk about this because if anything deals with sex, you don't like it.
No.
What is
No,
up with
she
that?
like she
No,
jams
she-
them in the.
No.
I'm talking generally about Chad.
No.
You don't like sperm. You don't like sex. You don't like
No.
sex scenes with octopi.
No. I never said that. In the whole octopus thing is really funny to me. I didn't have a problem with him fucking the octopus. No. The what's that? The anything with Wet Weaver fuck with me just because of his high back, exit hole. His web shooter. I don't know. It's just the way that is constructed. It's just like
It's just not aerodynamic.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's just it bothers the fuck out of me. So I don't like that. That's it. But I mean, we've seen the the woman go in the dick. I ain't had no problem with that. The little woman that went inside the dick. I ain't had no problem with that. I ain't had no problem with the elongated Dr. Ock dick. I ain't got a problem with that. I mean, he comes back. We've talked about him later. So no, I don't have a problem with sex. It's just Web Weaver specifically. I don't know why, but it bothers me.
Okay, all right. I'll leave that one alone.
Well, look, we're gonna round the corner and finish up this episode. So, right now, Firecracker tries to comfort Homelander after he learns that A-Train was a leak. Sage reveals that she knew A-Train was a leak, but it was part of her plan all along to spread misinformation. Homelander fires Sage. Samir, at this point, tries to escape by stabbing Kimiko with the virus. Now, this virus is supposed to be able to kill Homelander. So Frenchie amputates her leg to prevent the virus from spreading. And they present the amputated leg to Butcher, and they're unsure if it's strong enough to kill a soup like Homelander. So they're like, if it didn't kill her, maybe you got to work on it a little bit more. Now, next, during the live broadcast at Avenue V Christmas special, Ryan calls out Vought and tells the kids to love and trust their parents. Butcher watches proudly from a bar before collapsing. And then, the weirdest part, Annie, who is actually the shapeshifter, steals Huey's laptop before seducing him, laying him in bed naked. The real Annie is chained up in a room somewhere, unable to escape, and she remembers the woman who asked her for a selfie at the bar that Butcher was watching Ryan talk at. So now it's all full circle. She's dragged off somewhere. Ryan is out here going up against, Vought. You got Butcher passing out. We're going into the last episode kind of all in sorts. We're all over. So any thoughts? What do y'all think about this?
I like to point out that once we went back to Avenue V, the A-Train puppet was the first thing that was gone and replaced with some other random white dude talking to Ryan. That was the first thing I saw, and I found that one kind of funny. I knew we were getting more with the shapeshifter. I didn't know how we were going to pay it off until I actually saw it when I forget what she did in the room, but it was like, oh, it's Annie's the shapeshifter. So, I mean, that it makes sense. Who she's working for makes sense. But I didn't expect it. I kind of forgot about it after a while because we had a whole bunch of other wild shit that happened. So.
So for me, one thing you didn't really talk about it, but the bro scene, bro,
Yeah,
I loved it. Like that was I'm not gonna say it was a cute moment, but it was a cool moment because like they were talking without talking, and like a lot of people have ways in which they communicate with each other, and it was cool. It was cool to see Deep have a relationship with someone else, and it was noir. So that was cool. The scene with Kimiko, her leg being chopped off. It did what it had to do. It gave it gave a little bit of action, but it added to the drama, which was cool. him cutting her leg off, that was to be expected. It was just kind of like, okay, going ahead and hurry this shit up because I know what you're gonna do with the leg. All of that. What surprised me out of what you just talked about was what Ryan ended up doing. He was basically saying, like, he came right up to the edge. He was basically saying, "Nah, all of this is messed up, and I'm calling all of you out." Until he didn't go that extra step.
Yeah.
He was about ready to do it, but I think at that moment he didn't want to lose his dad. He wanted a dad. He wanted his dad. He wasn't ready to lose that relationship. Vought can go to hell, but he was ready. He still wanted to keep his dad.
Yeah,
I thought that was significant.
Yeah, I think that was a good kind of ending to the episode there, because it puts everybody right before we get into the final episode. It puts everybody kind of in limbo. Everybody's somewhere where we just don't know, and now we gotta either tie it all up in a pretty bow or explode it and leave it ready for season 5. So we're gonna go into episode 8, which was originally titled Assassination Run. Now they titled it now season 4 finale for the reason of why they put a disclaimer on it. Reality fucked around and was as close to this episode that was made years ago as possible. So, we got our potential president that's running on one party that got his ears shot off, and I put quotes around it because a lot of questions. So yeah, it makes sense why they have that title come across. So it starts off with a TV clip from Vaught's morning show VNN Today, broadcasting on January 6th. And of course, they have to touch on what we all know, the cancellation of Training A movie, Training A Train's movie in the announcement. And then they had a disingenuous All Lives Matter PSA from the 7. It airs alongside about President-elect Robert Singer's impeding presidential certification. I mean, they went down and touched on everything that we've seen before in our politics. For January 6th, nobody wants to, take precedence to that. So it starts off strong, but then the boys react to the broadcast that MM tells Frenchie to hurry up and extract the anti-soup virus from Kimiko's severed leg. Later, Kimiko tells Frenchie her true feelings for him, and they kiss. Meanwhile, Mother's Milk texts Huey to check if he's managed to hack the federal database to identify the shapeshifter's assassin target, Singer. So Huey is obviously oblivious to the fact that the shapeshifter is currently posing as Annie, but Annie, aka the shapeshifter, enters the room in princess-style dress and tries to get Huey's attention. So,
did you say princess-style dress?
Did you see that? Yeah, that was very twirl, got his attention and kept his attention. We're gonna say that because he went very deep. So Chad, what were your thoughts?
My first thoughts were, man, this sucks for you, Huey. Like, you just all caught up, and I mean, eventually this is gonna come out, and there was no way that Annie was not gonna be pissed at him for what happened, even though she has no reason to be pissed. But I mean, you basically. You fuck around with your girl, don't even know, and go get in trouble for it. I'm like, you can't win, Huey. You just can't win. And then, we'll get to what he does later. But he fell for the princess cut dress, the princess style dress. That's what we calling it. I was just thinking it was a cotillion dress because she's one of them pageant queen type bitches.
She's a pageant girl. Pageant girl.
It was nice to see Kimiko and Frenchie actually have a connection after not talking from the jail thing. I didn't know it was going to quite go that way. I don't quite know how I feel about it, but it's whatever. It's a means to an end, I guess. I don't know, but I was more interested in the shapeshifter as we get along into this one.
So for me, it was like like you know the entire time that that Huey is fucking the shapeshifter, and you know like you're thinking to yourself, oh my god, like at what point is he gonna find out? At what point is she going to find out that he fucked her? Like how is that gonna play itself out? It's like, you know, it's like it's like fucking your wife's twin sister. It's like that shit is gonna explode. It's gonna explode. You know what I'm saying? Like that was it for me. It was like forget all that other drama. It was like I'm thinking ahead, right? I'm thinking ahead, right? I'm thinking a little too deep, or at least that's what I was thinking.
It's right on brand for it.
Yeah.
No, because he pays for it later. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know,
I will say this though, like it was very clear that he should have known that something was up because sex was just being thrown at him, just sex on top of sex, and the thought, you know, kind of crossed my mind. It was like, what if? I mean, all the different times that she was a different character. It was a woman, but what if this is really a man?
You know,
Which
I did have that
know.
thought. You don't know, and they never say. Like she never when she's talking to Annie at the end, she never says. But
so I'm sorry. Please remember what you were thinking.
Yeah.
But High Fat Chocolate Latte said Huey knew.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this, because if Huey did know, you got to remember in the previous episodes, Huey they had sex. They did have sex. They kind of started coming back together. So it just went from like, hey, we did it. So maybe he's like, maybe I did a good job. Maybe she wants more. You know, that could be the thought process behind it. I don't know.
look,
But hey, that could be it.
I'm speaking as a dude that has gone with like minuscule sex, and then if a lot of sex is offered up out of nowhere, should I be suspicious? Maybe. Am I gonna turn the shit down? No. Am I gonna forget? Am I gonna forget why I'm suspicious? Hell yes. Especially if it keeps escalating. That's where Huey was at.
Well, okay, so we're gonna call her Annie. Annie engages Huey by recounting a story about her grandparents, her great grandparents' engagement, and proposes marriage to him. Huey, overjoyed, of course, pussy whipped at this point, fetches a ring, and he's been hiding it to propose in return. They sleep together after, and while laying in bed, Annie 2.0 realizes her disguise is beginning to deteriorate. She makes an excuse to leave, citing the need for quality champagne, and leaves in a rush, leaving Huey a bit confused by her behavior. First time when he's like, yeah, you know, post nut clarity. I'm starting to pay attention. So
I
now
love
we
it.
move
Post nut
over.
clarity. I love it.
Post nut clarity. Now things are starting to add up because he's like, hold on. I can think clearly now. I'm not a fool at this point. But next, in the hospital, Butcher's low blood pressure is noted by a nurse, but he remains unconcerned about his deteriorating health. In his head, Joe Kessler berates him for losing focus, but Joe offers Butcher's the power to unlock the suit powers inside of him if he agrees to commit suit genocide. It's kind of a 50-50. So, of course, Grace Mallory, she arrives, expresses disdain for Butcher, but still assists him. So now, you know, we got Annie, you know, starting to slip up on her pimping, but then you got Butcher that's coming back together, and he's like, "What do I do?" He has that good side, bad side. What do you think? Or Jermaine, what are your thoughts on that?
I still think that right here he's conflicted. He's trying to play both sides. He's trying to move in a way that would work for both sides. I think ultimately, though, I mean, well, I don't want to skip ahead. I don't want to skip ahead. But at this particular point in time, I think he's trying to make move. He's trying to make moves that would work in all scenarios, if that makes sense, until we see what ultimately happens. Before I saw what ultimately happens, that's where my head was. He's trying to make moves that like works for all sides. Yeah. That's where I am. It's especially because old girl, I don't remember her name. She really wanted Ryan to live, right? And what his friend is basically saying is like, no, all Supes have got to die. So in my head, I couldn't see that at the very least she wanted to, to train Ryan. I was just thinking that's what he wanted. He meaning the friend, the manifestation in his head. So I wasn't conflating that the friend and old girl wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I think he's trying to work it out to play both sides, but his primary focus is Ryan. He wants Ryan to be safe, to be somewhere, to hold up his, basically what he feels like his promise to his dead wife is to keep the kid safe. I guess he does know that Grace wants to keep Ryan and train him because he will ultimately be the last hope against Homelander. But also in his mind, Grace has raised him up to a point before Homelander found out he was alive. So even if she is going to train him, she's going to at least love and care for him like she used to. And but she does kind of say that towards the end too. Whereas, his V infested tumor conscious is just like, nah, they all got to go. But as long as there's still a chance of Ryan being able to be safe, that's what he wants to do until that is no longer an option for him.
Yeah, no, so true. And then we keep going on where Homelander begins to have the breakdown of all breakdowns, where he finds Butcher's gift to Ryan, which was a picture of Butcher, Becca, and him in his book sack. So when Homelander finds this, he goes into a rage. He basically destroys his entire apartment. Ryan comes in and he sees the rage. He's not sure what's going on, but of course, he's starting to see that other side. He's starting to have a little bit more fear or understanding of why people have that fear of Homelander, because he's not seeing his dad anymore. He's starting to see Homelander. So from there, we go into another scene where Annie remains chained up while the shapeshifter Soup approaches her, claiming that she's here for a recharge of sorts. So the shapeshifter mocks Annie's fears and reveals details about her engagement to Huey. So she shares her own experiences of moral decay, likening Annie to a school teacher she once impersonated. So at this point, the shapeshifter is having that conversation about how she really doesn't even remember where she came from, but she starts to taunt her about her internal problems, because with the shape-shifting ability, she has kind of a mind reading ability as well. She knows the current thoughts, or she knows the thoughts as of the point that she shape-shifted. So any thoughts about those two things, Homelander going crazy and the shapeshifter kind of in a sense reading Annie and explaining kind of where she is right now?
Yeah, one kind of frivolous question. Is this the scene like when Homelander walks in before he finds the picture? Is this when he goes to his little pube jar and it's full of pubes?
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
he is disgusted by his own gray hairs. He finds the picture. I mean, it's just like,
which, by the way, at the beginning of the season, it was like I don't know. I'm gonna say 10 pubes in a jar.
Yeah, it was like,
and now it's full to the brim, right? And he picks it up and he says, "Disgusting!" Like, dude, like this, you put your own pubes.
It's like, I don't know if y'all had a dog. If you had like a gray dog and you like brush him enough and you pull the hair off the brush and it's just this big mound of shit. That's what he's been doing all season. But you're right. It was like 10 strands, and now it's like he got a little walking fur ball in there, and the look of disgust on his face while he's doing it is like, dude, one, you're doing this. Like, you don't have to do this. Two, I mean, it's just what happens. You old, dude. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
You go ahead, Jermaine.
So High Fat Chocolate Latte says Homelander is so dysfunctional.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That is a good word for him.
So
hot ass
true.
mess. something along those lines. Yeah.
Because I mean, you can see the breakdown of him over the seasons, but this season, he really just, everything is triggering to him because he just doesn't know if he wants love and affection. He doesn't know if he needs love and affection, if he needs to be the dictator, or if he needs to be the person that's coddled. Like you see it in so many different ways where his psyche is broken, and you got everything that's triggering each one of his personalities all at once. It's going down a bad rabbit hole right now.
But this is like the first season where he hasn't had somebody to like check him a little bit. Like this is just pure him running amok. And even with no one to check him, he realizes just how unhappy his ass is. And he just finds different ways to find him, make himself unhappy, which is what that whole pew jar is. It's like,
and I'll tell you like this, you hit on a good point where when he feels like no one is willing to check him or nobody is able to check him, it's like he's going amok. But there's a scene later where that feeling kind of reverses, and it kind of brings him back to center. So we'll go in and we'll touch on that in a little bit. So of course, at the end of the last scene, the shapeshifter lets Annie know what the plan is to use Annie's face to kill President Singer. So Butcher receives a call from Huey, who is in distress about the mission to save Singer. Butcher, believing he's near death, asks Huey to visit a certain steakhouse in his memory and apologize to the boys. So this titty bar, this topless titty bar, Huey's got to go to, and if they don't pay this off at the end, like the whole show is done. But Huey agrees, but urges Butcher to keep fighting. But Butcher's focus remains on the steakhouse and a final goodbye, leaving Huey worried. Now, on the set of the truth bomb, Firecracker coughs while greeting Homelander, a symptom of the medication she's on to produce breast milk. Victoria Newman arrives and sits next to Homelander. And during the broadcast, Homelander, disturbed and barely attentive, challenges Newman to reveal her soup status. When Newman tries to deflect, Homelander uses his laser vision on her, proving she is a soup when she's remained unharmed. Frustrated, she confronts him and tells him to get in line or risk her daughter's life. Shit is going downhill real quick right now.
It was just such a dick move the way he did it. He's like, say you're a soup. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he just shoots her. Like, I know he knows that it ain't gonna hurt her, but it's still just like, it's the ultimate disrespect. It's like, fuck it, and fuck your feelings. We doing this right here, right now. And then he just gets up like, yeah, it's nothing. We cool, and expects her to just be good with it. It's like, again, the man he cannot formulate good plans. Like nothing thought out. He's all impulse, and him doing this on the set was just like a show of that.
So for me, I mean, it underscores what we already know about Homelander. This man does not understand basic human emotions. He doesn't understand what a mother would do. You basically tell this woman that you're going to kill her daughter. Of course, she's gonna do something in response to that. You think that you're keeping her in line? No, what you've actually done is you've unleashed a beast. Now, well, yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna leave it right there. Like, but any sane, like, no sane person would do that. Like, no. Yeah, you're Homelander, but you wouldn't do that. You would do it, but you wouldn't tell her that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, as we talk about unleashing the beast, the next thing is the boys work with the Secret Service to protect Robert Singer from a shapeshifter assassin who is currently posing as Annie, but nobody knows this, right? Huey realizes the imposter's identity when the shapeshifter references a detail from their first encounter. As we were talking about before, things get hot. Huey tells Mother's Milk, but the shapeshifter realizes they know and starts to attack. The real Annie, having escaped her restraints, joins and battles her doppelganger while Kimiko, Mother's Milk, and Huey deal with the fallout. Annie defeats the shapeshifter in a brutal fight and Singer gets away. I think this whole section of it was pretty cool. I think the funniest thing when they had the longest number to get out that thing, like to get out the building with the code, I was like, I feel them because everybody wants to be secure. You got to have 12 digits. in the heat of battle, nobody's trying to type that shit in. If you get it wrong, shit out of luck.
I mean, it's effectively a panic room. I get what you're saying about 12 digits because for security, but a panic room is all about like getting in, getting out, being swift, right?
You would
That
think so.
door was the opposite of that.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's good to keep something out, but I mean, shit happens. You gotta be able to have some kind of like swiftness about you. But I did find it. I was amused by it, but it's like y'all are just dumb.
Well, for me, what was nice was finally when Huey realizes that this is not really Annie, right? Um, it was a clue that we had all like picked up on, but the fact that he was then in that moment able to pick up on it, and the fact that by picking up on it you're actually saving the president's life, it was kind of cool because again, remember Huey as a character, like this dude just didn't have his shit together, and then all of a sudden like the arc for this particular character, Huey's character, is really coming into its own, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. But also, High Fat Chocolate Latte says, "Am I the only one always annoyed with Starlight?" Yeah, no, you're not. You're not. You're not.
She is the most useful character in the most unuseful times, probably known to the show. When you need her to show up big, outside of this one time when she body blows her own self, which I think plays a part into her character development because, she actually has a existential crisis, showing her internal crisis. So you get the different levels of it that's able to show her internal struggle, but it was external. So that's her art. That's how we can physically see her character development that later on in this episode comes in helpful.
You know what, High Fat Chocolate Latte, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree. I understand what Phipps is saying, but on the face of it, I agree with you. Like really, like why was she even part of the seven? Like electricity, she can fly. Okay, I'm just not starting to see that she can fight. Right? Like I'm just not starting to see that. Like it wasn't. Nah.
I mean, she was on the seven basically to be a showpiece. Like they just needed someone to fit a certain look, and she fit it. That's how she got it. I don't find her annoying, but I don't really care. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't really care about her, but she does serve a purpose because they are fighting supes, and most of them have no superpower, so they needed somebody else on the side. So she fits that role, but I can see why people wouldn't like her. She just doesn't necessarily bother me.
So there's something else that I want to say. I am going to change this up just a little bit, but it was part of what you talked about, Phipps. The whole milk part and what's her name, Firecracker, whatever her name is, getting sick. At that particular point in time, what I was thinking was that that some kind of way Newman or somebody else had put the poison in the milk. Or not the milk, but had did something to Firecracker, and through the milk would get Homelander. That's what I was thinking at that particular point in time, but clearly that wasn't the right thoughts. That's just
that would make it interesting. But since they are so on the nose, it's almost like these situations where they are hurting themselves just to make sure that the candidate is being propped up. Like, as many people have stated before, like there are a certain demographic of men that would rather somebody that looks down on them to be ahead than somebody that's equal to them to get ahead. And I mean that's kind of what it is. Like you want Homelander to win so bad that you're willing to kill yourself instead of probably helping Sister Sage, who probably has your best interest in mind more than anything else.
Right. I did think we would get more of a payoff with that because she's been kind of coughing here and there, but I think this scene where she runs off really coughing, I think that's kind of it. So I'm hoping that they do more with that in the next season because I thought we'd get more with it now.
Yeah. I think so. Well, now at this point, Singer calls for a new election, and of course, Ryan goes to visit Butcher, who, with Grace Mallory's help, tries to convince Ryan to stay hidden. Ryan learns the truth about his father's action and finds out that they want to use Ryan to help kill Homelander, as he's their only hope. So upset, Ryan rejects Butcher's offer and throws Mallory up against a wall after she tries to gas him. Mallory dies instantly. Butcher's left looking at Mallory's lifeless body after Ryan leaves. And now we know kind of Ryan and where he's doing. Kessler comes across and he's like, what are we going to do? He has that look of what are we going to do. So meanwhile, Homelander instructs Ashley to compile a list of potential Vought descendants, implying that those on the list, they are in danger. She gives them the list, which Homelander then tells the Seven to eliminate everybody on the list. The Deep asks about Ashley, and Homelander says to kill her too. Hey, I mean, he has nonchalant. But Ashley overhears it, rushes to save herself, and injects herself with a vial of Compound V from Homelander's apartment. So she starts to undergo a monstrous transformation. But of course, one major thing, nobody knows Ashley's last name. So, Chad, what do you think about this?
It's the whole last name thing that she's around them the most. And they think of her so little that they don't even know her last name and are just willing to kill anybody named Ashley. And the other Ashley gets it. I thought it fit her character to go get the Compound V. That was her way of protecting herself. But we don't know, like, we know something's going to happen. We know it's going to be something that happens with her head. I kind of thought we would see that paid off by the very end of this episode. But again, it looks like we have to wait until the next season. But they did sneak in, again, that Ashley wears wigs because she's pulled out all her goddamn hair. I knew that, but I kind of forgot because we hadn't talked about it in a while. So they slyly slipped it in while we got to see the effects of the V start taking hold. And also, all the rest of the Seven are just assholes because they were just mindly walking through the building, just killing anybody on this stupid list that they don't even know is accurate. They can't even check to see if it's the right people. Two, if these people have reached out to anybody else. We're just going to kill all these people. And paper trail be damned. Morons, all of them.
What's left of the Seven is definitely the bottom of the barrel.
One thing that I want to say, Noir, murder boner. I loved it.
He finally hit peak character. He understands the motivation now.
He filled it out.
Oh man. So after we got that craziness going on, Frenchie prepares a virus-loaded rifle after successfully extracting the virus from Kimiko's leg. Huey brings Victoria Newman, her daughter, and security guard into the room so they can have a little bit of a conversation, a come to Jesus moment, we'll say. Newman insists on a deal for her safety and future favors, but Butcher arrives, revealing his newfound superpower of unleashed powerful vines from his body, super, Venom style, we'll say. He brutally kills Newman by ripping her body into pieces. Embracing his darker side, and after seeing Ryan kill Mallory, without remorse, he leaves to follow his plan to commit genocide. The boys are forced to let him go, knowing he could kill and would kill them too. They're in disbelief over Butcher's new status, but Zoe is left to join Red River Institute. I think it's full circle because Victoria did so much to keep her away from Red River. All of her actions led her daughter directly back to Red River Institute. And then you get the notion that, you see, and it feels like Victoria Newman is about to be able to kind of get away with everything. She showed a lot of invulnerability earlier in this season. And for Butcher to tear her apart the way he did, does that now put Butcher up there with Homelander with the same way he tore apart Webweaver in the same episode? So any thoughts? What do y'all think about that?
So watching Butcher, I don't know if y'all thought it was the same thing, but like the tentacle things is that's his tumor. At least to me, that was just the tumor that's killing him is the Super V tentacle thing that he's using. Why is it so strong? I don't know. But yeah, him killing Newman, I still don't know if he can kill Homelander. I doubt he can take a blast from Homelander, but it would at least give people pause because everybody knows. Well, the people that know about Newman knew that she's pretty much invincible. I'll let your man go, but there's some other stuff because there's a lot to dig in there.
Yeah, I agree with Chad 100%. I was thinking the exact same thing as it relates to the powers of Butcher's powers. I don't think that he could beat Homelander because Homelander can fly. Homelander has these X-ray vision things. There are lots of different things that he could do to kill Butcher. I don't know if you have like another segment planned, Phipps, but we seem to be at the end, and so I just want to know if I could talk about some of the other things that I noticed.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what I loved about this particular episode was the tie, and they've been doing it all throughout this season, right? But the tie-in between the boys and Gen V, by having those characters come, I really enjoyed that. It kind of sets things up for Gen V. I don't know if you've been watching Gen V, Phipps, but I really enjoyed that. There was something else that I wanted to talk about. Let me see. If I remember, I'll talk about it.
Yeah, so we can kind of wrap things up because at this point, Homelander thinks everything's gone to hell. But at this point, this is when Sister Sage comes back in and she's letting him know that everything has actually gone to plan. This is the point where we now get back to where Homelander thrives the best. He has somebody thinking for him. He has somebody leading and guiding him, even though it's not in their best interest. She's doing this because she has so little interest in humanity that she's just doing it to see if she can do it. And to piggyback off of everything that goes along with Marvel, she's saying, wait for phase 2. We have more to come. So we now go into the end of season 4, looking forward to season 5 because there's so much going on. All of the boys tried to leave New York, but of course, what happens? They get caught by all of the soups that are now militarized and going to find everybody. So at this point, of course, Annie's superpower, she gets a nod from Huey. Boom. She's now able to fly. She has her powers back. Everything's good to go. More than likely, she's got to find Butcher because he's out there somewhere. And now the best, and one of the coolest things, you got Kimiko that screamed out for Frenchie after he was possessed and couldn't even hear her. So the one time that she's able to speak, he's not able to hear. So we got all these plot lines that are going into season 5, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good season.
Yeah. Just the way that they weave those storylines together, all of the storylines, they were able to close out some storylines and then open up some new ones for the next season. I feel like it was reminiscent of season 1, or maybe it was season 2. I'm getting my seasons conflated, but it was reminiscent of that. Well done.
Yeah,
this was well done.
Wait, so y'all did see the scene after the credits, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
tell me.
When Homelander goes and he finds that they froze Soldier Boy again, and yeah.
I saw that.
Okay.
He has Soldier Boy, but what does he do with him? They leave so much open to interpretation there. So I mean, it's very open ended.
Yeah, that is the question because, as far as I remember, the only time Homelander had any fear was when Soldier Boy blasted that one time and he saw it and he was like, oh shit, and he left. So, I mean, the fact that they showed him tells me that he doesn't do the smart thing, which is kill him. So how is Soldier Boy going to factor into that? Now you have two people that can potentially end Homelander, but Soldier Boy is as big a problem as Homelander. So how are you going to wrap all this up?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they have it where, they make a bigger threat, but we don't know what the power level set is for Ryan. Ryan may be stronger than all of them.
So I have a question. So I had heard that the guy who plays Butcher, like this, was it supposed to be this season? Is his last season? One of them. But is The Boys over after
Ne-
next season?
Next season's the last season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
they
season
want to make this
5
next season really, really big.
season 5 comes out in 2 years though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was just like season 4.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks like that. Well, at this point, it's episode of Boys. I mean, season of Boys, season of Gen V.
Yeah.
So we get Gen V next summer, and then
Then we get the final boys.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else, Phipps?
That's it.
All right, thank you all so very much for watching. But before you go, just a couple things. So we've been highlighting The Boys, but also on the channel we are also covering Love and Marriage Huntsville, also The Real Housewives of Dubai. We've also been covering Interview with the Vampire, but on tomorrow we're gonna start covering Queen of the Damned, the movie. We're also covering Chad and I. We're also covering House of the Dragons. So stay tuned. Very best that you love. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Y'all have a great one.